Hey guys, Scott here. This video is going up really late. I apologize for that. Um, Today's video isn't going to have any questions at the end. I know you guys asked a lot of questions yesterday um, that I meant to answer, but one of the questions that was asked is sort of a whole video thing, and I want to take a whole video by itself to talk about this subject because it's sensitive. Today I will be talking about abortion. And before you guys leave this video, I know it's a controversial topic. I'm going to try to explain my position the best way I can and treat the opposite position the best way I can. That way we really get a good sense of the positions here. I know abortion is a touchy subject, and every time I try to talk about it with people in person, they usually end up yelling at me. Or I end up yelling at them because it's a very passionate subject. And so I feel like making a video might reduce some of that emotion. We can get just straight to the facts of the matter. Hopefully I can convince some of you to change your position. Maybe not, who knows. But I feel like this is a video that should be made. Especially since it's such a big topic in today's America. Actually, the original question asked was not about just my position. It was about why I, as a man, let's see if I can find the question. Why I, as a man, get to have an opinion on abortion, which is a medical procedure on a female's body. So I'm going to start with the false assumption in this question that abortion is a medical procedure. It's not. It's not a medical procedure. I am pro-life. That is a baby. That is not just another organ. That's not a body part. It's not just a clump of cells. That is a living human that matches, I think it was 5 of the 7 characteristics of life defined by the World Health Organization, which is as many as a coma patient defines. And so that is a living, breathing human being in that stomach. And so I don't have an opinion on a medical procedure. I have an opinion on killing innocent humans. I would think that other people would have an opinion on that too. I would hope other people have opinions on murder. That's because that's what abortion is. It's murder. Like asking this question is like me. It would be like me asking why a woman should have an opinion on the draft. Like it doesn't matter. You're a human. You have the right to have a political opinion on a touchy subject. It's really that easy. So before I go on to talk about the pro-choice positions, I want to explain the pro-life view and why I'm pro-life. Because I am pro-life. In an ideal world, abortions would be illegal except in cases where the woman's life is in danger. Obviously, we don't live in an ideal world. I would like to see more restrictions on abortion, even if the exception, I would like to see abortion restricted except for cases of rape and incest, and when the mother's life is in danger, and or maybe a weak thing. I mean, anything is better than the status quo because the status quo at a national level is abortion on demand until 9 months. So I am pro-life because I believe that life begins at conception. I don't think it begins sometime in the middle of the pregnancy. I don't think it begins at birth. Life begins at conception. At least my belief, and I'll go on to explain why I think that later. So yeah, that's why I'm pro-life. I just don't believe in. If I believe that's a baby, then I have to believe that killing it is murder, and murder is wrong, just morally speaking. I don't even have to cite the Bible. I mean, everybody can agree that murder is wrong because everybody underneath understands that basic Judeo-Christian values that undergird our society include murder as an immorality. So, okay, now I want to break down the 3 major pro-choice positions that I see most commonly. And I'm going to say that whoever asked this question probably holds one of these 3. And so the three really are the sort of, this one's sort of out of style. That's the 90s safe, legal, and rare position, where abortion should be available through 9 months, but we hopefully a woman doesn't. Hopefully it's only used in certain circumstances because the woman doesn't want to do it. And I'll explain why that position makes no sense. And then the other two. There's the really ultra feminist sort of Alyssa Milano position that abortion is something that should be celebrated, that you should cheer that you're a real woman if you had an abortion, and if you didn't get an abortion, you're not a real woman, because that's what makes you womanhood. And before you criticize me for saying that, there are actually women in the political world that state that they actually believe that sort of nonsense. So I mean that's a position on the far left. And then the third position is the one that I am most comfortable with, and it's also the one that makes no sense, makes the least amount of sense. And it's the idea that abortions should be legal, but there should be restrictions on them, like week-wise, like in terms of actually, okay, there's four positions. So the third position is that the idea that, past a certain week, 16, 20 weeks, abortion should be illegal. And I'm going to explain why that's not actually pro-choice, that's pro-life after 20 weeks. And the fourth position is the idea that abortion should be legal, not because of any sort of morality issues, because it's the my body, my choice scenario. And you find this a lot with people who, that sentence is usually followed with, preceded by, I would never have an abortion myself, but it's the woman's choice. And I'm going to explain why that position makes no sense, that statement is so flawed. And I'll also go through it. So the first, actually I'm going to wrap that up with the safe, legal, and rare. I lied. So the first two I'm going to talk about is the safe, legal, and rare, and the my body, my choice positions. So safe, legal, and rare became really popular in the 90s under Bill Clinton as sort of a justification for abortion. And that position doesn't make any sense in its name. Just a question to any pro-choice person. If you want it to be safe and legal, why would you want it to be rare? I mean, and I want you guys to really think about that question, because saying that you want abortion to be rare is an acknowledgement that there's something morally weighing about getting an abortion, that something weighs on your soul in doing that. And if you acknowledge that something weighs on your soul in getting an abortion, that is an implicit acknowledgement that there is a life there, and that you are taking a life. Like abortion, you read a lot of abortion stories and talks about how getting an abortion was a really hard choice. And we should feel for the woman. If it was a hard choice, that woman understands that what she did was morally heavy, that weighs on her conscience, which is why a lot of the most vocal pro-lifers are usually people who had abortions and regretted it. I mean, there is something morally heavy about getting an abortion. And if you acknowledge that by saying that it's a woman's choice, I would never get one, but it's a woman's choice, well then why would you never get one? Why would you never get an abortion? Usually the answer is because I know that's morally wrong. And if you acknowledge that there's something moral about that, if you acknowledge that there's a life there that you are taking, then it's impossible to justify doing it. On demand, at least. Like, there are some special circumstances that I could see justifications for, but just saying for convenience, like, I'm not ready to have a baby, that's not a justification for getting an abortion if you believe that there is a moral weight to doing so. If you understand that there is that decision has gravitas, there is something there, and that you have to consider the decision, then you shouldn't do it. The opposite of this, and this is the position I respect the most because it's the most consistent. I don't respect the people who hold this position, but I respect the position, and I respect their ability to just take the position to its conclusion. And that's the people who believe that abortion is just long-term birth control. Right? The people who say a day before your due date you can get an abortion and there's nothing wrong with that. right? The people who say, abortion until 9 months and past that. Like Alyssa Milano is one of the, people who celebrate their abortions. That is an egregious position, right? Because anybody who says that, you can get an abortion the day before you're supposed to give birth. Oh, sorry, I have a sneeze coming on. Anybody who says that an abortion is acceptable the day before birth is not really. I don't understand what that logic is. And I guess it boils down to when life begins. Like that's the fundamental question. And I should have led with that. I apologize. That's the fundamental question here: is when does life begin? As a pro-lifer, and there are only two positions that make sense. Like the third abortion position, pro-choice position we're gonna talk about, sort of splits the difference, and that's why it doesn't have any real clarity. The two choices for when life begins are at conception, which is what pro-lifers believe, and at birth, which is what hardcore abortionists believe. If you believe it's at birth, then you are saying that there is that 6 inches of movement grant life. Like that's what denotes life, right? Between the stomach and the real world, something about the passage through that canal grants lifehood onto a baby. And that seems like a ridiculous position because it is a ridiculous position, right? Like that baby has all the characteristics of being a baby before it's born, except it doesn't breathe on its own. That's it. That's the only difference. That's the only thing that happens there. And so saying that birth grants lifehood or first breath grants lifehood is an egregious position, but I mean that's the only other sort of logical position for when life begins, which is why I respect people who take that position. I respect the position and the fact that people who are willing to take that position. I always say that unless you have a legitimate reason to limit your position somewhere on the scale, you should take your belief all the way to its logical conclusion. So, on abortion, I'm pro-life. In an ideal world, I'd be pro-life, and all abortions are restricted except for when the mother's life is in danger, because obviously the established life takes precedence over the unborn. Right? That's just a moral exchange that I am willing to make. And some women aren't. Some women want to give birth even if it kills them. Right? Now, I will let that woman make that exchange. If it was my wife, I would ask her not to. But, I mean, if a woman wants to do that, perfectly fine. Right? It's her choice whether or not to give birth in that circumstance. In every other circumstance, though, abortion is morally wrong. Right? If you say, convenience-wise, I'm not ready for a baby, you shouldn't have gotten pregnant. If even if it was rape and incest, right? The circumstances under which something happened do not justify doing something about it. But the circumstances in which you get pregnant does not justify killing the baby, right? If you acknowledge something morally wrong there, then your circumstances don't justify the action. Right? I mean, I could go on about that forever, but I like to get on go on to the so if you have a principle, unless you can limit it, like as a pro-lifer, I limit it based on the mother's life because that's a legitimate restriction, and in Congress I would limit it based on other things because those are legitimate restrictions, right? If you're pro-choice and you do what the third position does and you say, okay, up to 20 weeks, right? Past 20 weeks, no, but up to 20 weeks, that's an arbitrary statement. I mean, there's not a lot of justification there. 20 weeks is used a lot because that's when scientists say that babies can feel pain, and so they use that sort of justification for not getting an abortion after 20 weeks, not allowing abortions after 20 weeks. That's pretty thin ice to walk on because not all babies are the same, right? Some babies can feel pain in 19 to 18 weeks, some babies don't feel pain until 21, 22 weeks, right? I mean, it's a pretty arbitrary position. That's why I don't think it makes a lot of sense to say that. And when you say you're pro-choice up to 20 weeks, then after that it should be restricted, you should define your political principles based on the status quo. And so, like on the economy and on government spending, I am limited government. I'm a fiscal conservative because I want to see spending shrink. If spending was really small, really small and I wanted to see it grow a little bit, like I could have the same spending patterns, right? If I said I wanted military spending to be $600 billion, well, right now it's above that. So I'm a fiscal conservative. I want to see it restricted. If it was below that, and I still believe that, I'd be a fiscal liberal, right? I'd want to see spending expanded. Yeah. Same way with abortion. The status quo is abortion on demand. And so if you favor restrictions on abortion, you're pro-life. You're not pro-choice, you're pro-life. Just with, you're my ally. You're not the ally of pro-choice people. That's why I struggle with people who say I'm pro-choice up to 20 weeks, and after 20 weeks we can do restrictions. Well, then you're pro-life, and I invite you to the movement because you and I are better allies than you and the pro-choice people. All right? That's a pro-life position, not a pro-choice one. It's a flimsy position because there's no limiting principle there. There's no reason why 20 weeks or 18 weeks or 15 weeks or 24 weeks, are set principles. Like those are the weeks. It's just you picked a number out of thin air. But yeah, so those are the three major positions. I don't think I missed anything. Again, I don't want to malign anybody. I know it's a controversial subject. If any of you have any questions or follow-up comments or want to respond to me, let me know. I'm happy to have I would love to have other people in the discussion. I would love to call you or FaceTime and screen share that and record that, and involve other people in this conversation, because it gets a little boring just talking to a camera. I'd like to talk to other people about this. Whoever left me the question, if you have a follow-up comment or I said something that you disagree with and you want to tell me why I'm wrong, text me, call me, show me an email. I'll invite you onto the next video and we can do a follow-up and you can explain to me why you think I'm wrong and we can have an actual discussion, because I really think that's important. I don't think just me spewing facts and spewing my beliefs at a camera for you guys to watch, that's not very conducive. I would love to have an actual debate, an actual conversation with somebody. I'm hoping I can have a couple of my friends on for my next major video. I was going to talk about God, my belief in God today, because that's also pretty unorthodox. But that's a conversation best had with friends of mine. If any of you guys listen to me, I talk to my friends about the nature of God a lot, and we have pretty big disagreements, which are really fun to talk about. So eventually I'll do a video on that. But yeah, I'm sorry I couldn't get to any of you guys' questions. I might do I'll probably do a video tomorrow of just straight questions. But yeah, so everybody be safe. I hope you guys made it to the end of this video. We didn't bore you or make you angry. Yeah, be safe. Don't go in major crowds, and I'll see you all in the next video.